Hey,
Thanks so much for meeting with me.
no worries.
So I normally only get to see you at NAM.
I know. Yeah, it's I don't get up your way much very often anymore,
No.
so it's yeah, I gotta make a point to get up there again.
Well, now we have this great technology. We
I
can
know.
meet online, virtually.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'd love to take this opportunity to get to know you a little better and
Sure.
find out more about how you got started with guitar
Hmm.
and just your whole guitar life story.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay. So, I started playing guitar when I was about 10 years old. I started on piano and played piano for about 5 years and didn't like it at all. I had the same piano teacher that my mom had when she was a kid, so she was like in her 90s when I
Mhm.
started, and she was one of the, whack you with the ruler types, which
Yeah.
was super fun. So didn't like piano much. But my family is very musical, and they wanted me to, do something with music, and so I basically asked them if I could like quit piano if I took up another instrument, and they said great, and so I decided to start playing guitar. This was like the early 90s, and grunge was breaking, and I was seeing that stuff on MTV and just going like, oh, that looks really cool. And so
Mhm.
I decided to try out guitar, and so I picked it up and just fell in love with it, and was kind of like, oh, I found my thing. This is awesome. And so like basically for the next few years, I just basically immersed myself in guitar pretty much nonstop, trying to learn everything I could, before, YouTube and everything else was, made it really easy to do. So I was like, playing CDs over and over, trying to figure stuff out, and just, playing with my friends, and just trying to like play as much guitar and learn as much about music as I could. I was always very like active and just trying to like discover new things and learn new things about music specifically. And then when I was about 17 or so, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as going to college and stuff. And I discovered that there were guitar programs out there where you could go and actually study to play guitar in college, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. And so I started teaching myself and learning jazz, which was because I was not a fingerstyle player at the time. I didn't actually start fingerstyle playing until I got to college. But I started learning how to play jazz and really diving into the jazz world with the goal of getting into music school, and ended up auditioning for a few schools and got into a couple, and ended up doing my undergrad at USC and here in Los Angeles, and studying jazz for 4 years. And when I was there, they had a classical guitar requirement, and I was a little nervous because I was like, oh, I don't really play classical guitar at all. I've never played without a pick in my hand. And so I started taking classical guitar and learning fingerstyle, and not just classical guitar, but like, Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed, and, like the sort of, getting into the fingerstyle world and the fingerstyle jazz world and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. It took like a really long time to kind of get my right hand up and running, and um, that was a real process because I just never played with my fingers before. I didn't know how. No one ever showed me how to do that. So it was kind of a pretty steep learning curve. So I took a bunch of classical lessons and got really into specifically fingerstyle guitar. From there, when I was in college, a friend of mine played me Aerial Boundaries, the Michael Hedges record, and kind of went like, oh my gosh, this is like the most amazing thing I'd ever heard. And I kind of dove deep into the fingerstyle world in school a bit, and then really just started like playing professionally and teaching, and just kind of going from there, and wasn't really sure even when I graduated from school kind of what I wanted to do as far as like writing my own music and doing my own projects. And then but the fingerstyle thing was always a very like persistent part of that, and I really like being in academia. I got a teaching job at a college here locally right after I graduated from school, and I really liked that environment. So I went back to school to do my master's degree in music, and focused on like mostly like fingerstyle jazz kind of stuff. Played a lot of 7 string jazz guitar, which was super fun. And then, but always the kind of the this was right around the time when the whole sort of percussive fingerstyle thing was really breaking out on YouTube with, Candy Rat Records and all that kind of stuff, and really got deep into that, kind of from the Michael Hedges influence too, and really just started sort of exploring that whole style of music. I always loved the idea of being able to kind of do everything with just guitar. I just love playing guitar, and so um, some of the other things about music weren't as interesting to me as far as like being in bands and things like that. I did that. I played in cover bands and did, gigs all over the place, and it was fun, but it was never something I was super like passionate about. I just wanted to like play guitar like that in
Yeah.
a very simple way. Um, and so I really started diving into more solo guitar playing and making that a real consistent part of my professional life, I guess. And like I said, I got really inspired with the new wave of modern fingerstyle guitar that was coming out in the early 2010s and so, and started writing my own. And I'd written like my own music. Before then, but never released anything. And I was finally like, okay, I'm about ready to release a record, and I had enough music that I thought was decent enough to try to release. And so um, I released my first record in 2012, and had been sort of pursuing both the academic side of music and this fingerstyle world, kind of at the same time. In 2013, I went up to the Canadian Guitar Festival for the first time, which was where I met all the Stonebridge folks and you lovely folks. So that was super cool. That was a real amazing time. Like I had never been to a festival that was just acoustic guitar before, and it was a pretty amazing experience, and just really fell in love with the community and the whole sort of world of fingerstyle guitar, like uh, just in a real like personal way, I think. And so I've always kind of balanced out like the performing side of music with the teaching side. I've been teaching at colleges and teaching music for ever since I can really like play guitar, like ever since I was about 18 or so, and really appreciate that academic side of music as well as the performing side. And so currently I'm teaching at a couple of schools. I went back to get a doctorate degree in music, and focusing in musicology, and some did some flamenco guitar, and just basically everything I could do with the guitar. I just been a constant student of the instrument, and that always is super inspiring to me. So so that's basically me.
Wow. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know it's a lot. Sorry.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. I feel when you have that mindset, if you're a lifelong learner and
Hmm.
you never want to stop learning, it just means you're
Right.
gonna constantly improve and so much
Yeah,
you can do with it. That's so exciting.
exactly.
So you mentioned you first heard of Stonebridge at the Canadian Guitar
Hmm.
Festival, which is
Yeah.
what a lot of people say when I
I'm
ask
sure
about it.
that's a very common response, right? Yeah, that was where we all sort of found you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell me more about kind of your history with Stonebridge and
Mhm.
how that evolved and kind of where it's at now?
Sure. So initially, like when I was kind of getting into the fingerstyle world, I was kind of looking at like I didn't really own like a really like decent acoustic guitar yet.
Mm,
I had played some different models and never really found anything that kind of fit with me and what I was trying to do, and it just wasn't like um, everything that I had played. I'm in Southern California, so like Taylor guitars are close by, and there's those everywhere around here, and I played some of those, and I absolutely hated the electronics that were with those,
right.
and so they didn't really do what I was wanting to do. And as I got more involved and did a lot of research on what was going on in this sort of modern fingerstyle world, I kept seeing this sort of Stonebridge name pop up all the time, and a lot of the videos and a lot of the players that I was trying to learn music from were using Stonebridge, and I had never heard of them before, never seen one, never played one, and I was kind of like, huh, this maybe there's something about these guitars that are different, or maybe these are like the fingerstyle instruments that I should be playing. And so when I came up to the guitar festival, you guys were there, and I got to test out some of the guitars at the festival and play some guitars that some other performers there had, and really just kind of fell in love with them. I mean, I still have my my Stonebridge right here. It's sitting right here, and it's been kind of one of my main acoustics ever since. But it's recorded a couple of records with it, and it's been a real workhorse guitar. But the sound and the playability from that guitar was very unique, and something I really couldn't find in the options that were around here. And so it was kind of like discovering like a hidden gem of a guitar that and again, every time I would play it around here, everybody would ask like, hey, what's that guitar? I've never seen one of those before. And so
Yeah.
it was a good conversation starter. And just because there really weren't any around here at all that I could play, so that was kind of how we got involved. And we did some uh, subsequent festivals and some other things, working with the guitars and some local shows around here in California. And yeah, that's kind of the history with it.
Yeah. So that guitar was designed by Roger for
Yeah,
fingerstyle players. He
yeah,
just loved that style and wanted to support those artists, and there's nothing really
mhm,
like it
yeah,
on the market. So that's what makes that guitar so special. Now you
yeah.
got a chance to play our latest model, the Avenir,
Yep, yep.
which is built
That's
by
right.
Hosen in
I,
Singapore. You got to, I think you first tried it at NAM last year. Is that
yeah,
correct? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. We tried the first. I think it may have been a similar guitar to this one at NAM a year ago, and then got to play them a bit this year and
Yes.
after the show too. So
And you got to try our pickup this year,
yes, yes,
which
definitely.
in that guitar, I think is
Yep.
it the NS3V or the NS3 in that one? Does it have the volume?
Uh, no volume control on this one.
Okay,
So
so that's
just
the
a regular.
NS3 pickup.
Yeah.
And what has your experience been like with that one? Or what was your
Yeah.
experience at NAM versus now that you've had
Oh,
it?
sure. Yeah, yeah. So, I think the NAMM show is a wonderful place to try stuff out, but it is a very hard environment to like actually really hear things, because it
Mm-hmm.
is a chaotic environment for sure. But even what I could hear in the cacophony of the show was pretty impressive. It was very natural, very responsive. It seemed it really sounded to me like I was playing through just a acoustic guitar without a pickup and just placed in front of a microphone,
Mm.
but still didn't have any, no feedback issues, no, hassles with the mic. It really was. I mean, the thing with electronics for me is like I don't want to think about them. I just want them to work and sound good and have minimal sort of tweaking. I'm a very sort of plug and play type of player. So it's like if I can, have something that's reliable, doesn't need batteries, doesn't need like a whole like I have to tweak it all the time and, deal with it, like if it just sort of works and sounds good and eliminates, feedback, like that's a win for me. So with the pickup, like I was pretty impressed how well it sounded at the show, even with the craziness of the environment. And then I've gotten to be able to take it on a few solo gigs and band settings in the last month or so, and been really impressed with the sound. Again, sounds very natural. Sounds. I have some other pickups, like my other Stonebridge has a K and K in it, and a DiMarzio sound hole pickup, and like those sound great, but this sounds better. And so it seems to me a little more responsive to the guitar. It seems like it fits the acoustic sound of the guitar better and just sort of amplifies that. I tend not to be a big fan of like acoustic amplification at all. Like I would rather just run into a PA. I have a amp company that I work with that makes a very transparent amplifier that really acts like a PA. It's not really an amp. It's like a PA in an amp box. And running this guitar through that, it really just sounded like what it sounds like unamplified, just louder. And
Yeah.
that's my point. So I found that to be really useful. I'm actually like in the process of getting another one of these pickups installed on another guitar, so that's being done now, and so I'm looking forward to getting that guitar back and seeing kind of how it works in that instrument. So
Great.
yeah, been super happy with it so far. Yeah,
Fantastic. And what about the
yeah.
guitar itself?
Well, I don't want to send it back. That's for sure. Um, I think I mentioned this at the show, but like, um, I had played. I mean, gosh, I feel like at that show I had played about, 100 or so different acoustic guitars. Like just walking around the show, and people were like, "Hey, come play this guitar," like all this kind of stuff. And like, I still, and I think you remember me saying this, but like this was the best guitar I played at the show, just like as far as playability goes. And I'm a very like low action, like low effort kind of player where like I don't want to have to fight the guitar
Right.
to play what I need to play. And like one of the challenges for fingerstyle players is that with all the goofy tunings that we use, if you have low action like and you start tuning things down, it really starts to like mess with the playability. You'll get buzzing, you'll get fret issues, like it just kind of a drag. And I didn't find any of those with this instrument, especially when I dropped down to some pretty wacky tunings. It held its tuning stability really well, and it still kept that low action, but without like fretting out or having any notes that sounded like I should avoid them when I'm playing. So, as far as like a fingerstyle player goes, I found it to be pretty easy to play, very versatile both in like standard tuning and some of the altered tunings. I've played fan fret guitars before, but not fan fret acoustics very often. So that was like a very cool adjustment, and it really doesn't like I don't really notice it like at all. Like I remember when I played this, I was like, oh, I should worry about the fan frets, but it really felt very natural to play. Didn't really have to tweak anything or change anything, but I have noticed that it does make the tuning stability a little stronger and the upper fret access a little easier. Don't have to stretch as far, which is kind of nice.
Yes.
And I tend to play in kind of more of a up kind of classical position, and so like it feels very natural to me to do that. So overall, it's been a really cool experience. It's and again like the neck profile has been very comfortable to play. I tend to like kind of the thinner kind of shredder necks. I don't have giant hands, and so the neck feels very much like a almost like a classical neck to me. It's normal nut spacing, but it like feels very flat on the fretboard and very comfortable to play. So like I don't get tired when I play this guitar. Like it doesn't there's a lot of guitars that have like sort of the baseball bat necks that I can play for a while and then kind of go like, my hand's kind of,
Yeah.
over this. And I've never had that experience with this guitar yet, so that's been really kind of nice. So, yeah, overall been super happy with it. And I've played a few before. Just it's been cool to kind of put it through its paces and use it on a regular basis for performing and for teaching and just yeah, overall been really nice.
Amazing. That's fantastic
Yeah.
feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Wonderful. So, is there anything I know you teach a lot and you
Mhm.
perform at your church, right? You
Yeah,
perform
there
there.
as well. Yeah. Hmm.
And you've released 10 albums, I think it is.
Is it 10? I lost count. It's kind of ridiculous. It, when you're just when it's just you and a guitar, you kind of just get like a little carried away with the whole record thing. It's kind of funny, but yeah, I guess geez, I guess end. Wow.
Was there anything on the horizon for you? Any projects you're working on? Anything coming up?
Um, I'm always kind of writing. I don't really have anything new on the horizon for like the immediate future. I have some projects I'm working on. I'm actually working on taking some of my fingerstyle arrangements and making them into more of like a jazz trio kind of arrangement, like going kind of the other way, going like a full band kind of thing,
Yeah.
which has been a challenge but fun. And right now I'm still writing. I feel like I've got a lot of ideas, but nothing super concrete yet. My goal, at least in the immediate future, is to record some more of my cover arrangements that I've been doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these covers that I've been meaning to record and just haven't yet. So that's kind of the next process, the next plan, I guess. And still working on original music. I feel like it's getting a little harder to release like albums, so I'll probably do that more on like a single basis at this point. But so there's always sort of stuff in the works. The
Yeah.
problem that I'm finding is that with teaching and everything else, it's like everything that you want to do creatively sometimes gets put on the back burner for the things that you have to get done. But it's been a fun process, kind of getting all that stuff, compiling it, and just sort of being able to have this guitar here to sort of work on some ideas and workshop some new music has been fun. So it's in process. No concrete plans at the moment, but I'm probably long overdue for something new. So I think it's time to kind of start get cracking on that. So.
Yeah, well, we're all waiting for it. We all want to hear
Well,
it.
thank you. That's very nice to hear.
So one final question for you.
Sure.
So it's a bit of a doozy.
Okay.
So you've been in the industry for a really long time,
Yeah.
and you've seen a lot of changes in it.
Mhm.
I'm new to the industry. I've only been in it for a couple years, but I've heard a
Sure.
lot about things that used to be around, like the guitar festivals, the record labels. Um,
Mhm.
what do you see for the future of fingerstyle? Do you see sort of a trend? Is there something we can do as a community to kind of bring some energy back into it?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is that like I feel like for a while the at least the fingerstyle world, that's what I can speak to because that's I guess what I know, was very like close knit and very like connected, and I feel like in recent years that's sort of been sort of splintering a bit, and I think largely it's because there aren't these sort of like you know they call them tentpole gigs when you do a tour. It's like the thing that you can kind of rely on like every year to be like the big like finger style gathering. And there have been some of those in the past, the Canadian Guitar Festival, and others that like I think were like really sort of grounding the community. Like, I
Right.
mean, to me it was like I remember when I was first like trying to dive down this whole sort of fingerstyle road, it was like, okay, if I can just get to that festival, that was the big goal, right? And I was like, I'd never been to Canada before. I didn't know anybody there. I was like bringing my own camping gear and just being like, all right, I'm just gonna see what the heck happens and go. And like that to me was like the big goal. And like I still like the contacts and friends I've made from that festival, the contacts with Stonebridge, and like just like that was like something that like really was inspiring, and I felt like really kind of like centralized this community because I think the hardest thing is that like everybody's in all different parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really hard to have these sort of communal events, and I think that's sort of maybe a symptom of a larger problem in society too. But like I think it's more like with the fingerstyle world, like the sort of signature events were so important in like having like a okay, like this is the thing you got to go to kind of
Right.
deal. And then like I remember the last year that it happened, I brought my wife out for the first time. It was her. She's not a guitar player, but she's like, this community is awesome. Like it was like really, I think, interesting for like an outsider to the fingerstyle world to kind of see like how close knit and connected everybody was, but like they're from all different parts of the world, but they're all sort of congregating in this one spot. So I think like if there's something missing, it's sort of those like signature like events that like bring people together. And like um, in previous years before COVID, around NAM, I would try to organize some concerts here in town when everybody was around, and you know they were looking for places to play. Like that was a really fun thing to do. We did those for quite a few years. Actually, the poster for one was back there. But anyways, and the whole idea is that like it was just a way to kind of bring that community together, at least when they're all in the same spot. And so like I feel like there's maybe a need for more of that. I certainly like, just as a selfish reason, I just miss performing at those and miss going to hang at those. Those are always like the most fun that I would have all summer when those happen. But like I think just like everything feels very sort of scattered and disconnected because there aren't like these big events anymore that like bring all these people together. And you know, since COVID, it's really been, you know, NAM that's done that. So I guess maybe like looking for ways to sort of cultivate more of that event-based community, not just an online one. You know, I think the online part is, you know, great, but it's also like very difficult to feel connected to because it's very much everybody's on their own in that. And so just maybe finding more ways to kind of bring like people together that are, you know, passionate about this music, I think is really really important. And I think, you know, for I feel like that this community thrives on that connection and really feels like disjointed when it's not there. So like bringing those events back, I think, is a huge part of it. But you know, also just having these, you know, like companies like Stonebridge and others that are like advocating for and pushing for more of the scene to develop, I think is huge. I think you know, a lot of people are just guitar players who like to play in their bedrooms and just discover things, and like having support from, you know, the industry, for lack of a better term, I think is really helpful in, you know, cultivating more and more of that. And so yeah, so I think that's what I'd like to see kind of developing more in the future.
Well, I could not agree more. I think it's really important, and
Yeah.
especially, you know, when I first came on board with Stonebridge and I was
Mhm.
talking with Roger and Ken about the history and what it's all about,
Yeah.
the word that came up the most was community. It was all about communities. Stonebridge was
Yeah.
founded on community, and we thrive on it, and that's
Right.
kind of the what keeps us going. And you know, my first initial thought was we need to bring events back. We need to
Yeah.
give artists that space and those opportunities. So that's a huge goal of mine, and Stonebridge in general. And
Right.
I want to, you know, collaborate with artists and get them involved and kind of make it a big community effort. And there's lots of stuff in the works, and it's really
Oh, great.
exciting to feel like things are shifting, things are moving, and it's great to talk with artists like you and get that feedback and figure out what you guys want and what you're lacking, what you're missing, and
Yeah.
see how we can, as a community, make it happen.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. That's great. Yeah. I mean, like, I just kind of think back to, like, just the NAM hangs and stuff like that and how fun that was. And, like, to be able to do that with, like, more people in from all over the world, and just, like, there's nothing better than that for me. Like, that's just so much fun listening to great music around great people in a cool place, and just, you know, kind of like it just makes it makes all this worth it. And like I think like, you know, even just like I said, a purely selfish reason, I think those things are so important, just for musicians to feel like there is a reason for us to create more music, and to, you know, so it doesn't just get lost in the void of the internet.
Right.
But to have a place where like people are like wanting to hear and discover this new music. I mean, I think that's such a vital part of growing any scene or any style of music. But I think that the demand is there for something like that, just from not only artists but from also fans and things like that. It's so hard to do anything that seems like a there are little things here and there around the year, but like sort of the tent pole like main sort of
Yeah.
event. Like I think CGF was kind of always that for a lot of us, and I was willing to travel 3,000 miles to go and experience that, and then keep coming back because of how like vital that was to the community. And to me it was like those events were like, I've been part of the musician community here in California for a long time, but like that was the most I felt connected to a group of musicians like pretty much ever. And it was all a bunch of people playing by themselves, which tells you something. So it's not it's just it's kind of an interesting, really unique kind of group, and I think that's something that you lose when you don't bring them all together in the same spot and have that venue to perform.
Yeah. Well, I um, there are some artists putting on events. I know Antoine's doing a festival now in Quebec every summer.
Right.
There's one in August coming up.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
and just like kind of getting more involved in that and expanding and making bigger. And
Mm,
I think that's important. Artists, putting on little things too that companies like Stonebridge can get involved in and expand it and make it something accessible to more people. I
right.
think yeah, it's like a collaborative effort with the artists and with the companies, and I think it's entirely possible, and I think there's something big on the horizon for sure.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's exciting to hear. I hope so. Like I said, purely selfishly, I hope so, because that's those movies are so much fun. They're so much fun. Like I
Yeah.
love that, and I really do kind of miss that. I feel like it was a very special time that I think would be great to come back.
Mm. Well, I know for myself, just I haven't experienced a community like this before, and just seeing you guys perform and share your passions and your gifts, it's unlike anything, and it's so inspiring. You can see how it inspires everyone around you, like fans, but all they're also artists, like artists inspiring each other to improve and to learn more and to share their
Yeah.
gifts. It's incredible, and I think it needs to be supported, and
Mhm.
it needs to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a very like mutually inspiring kind of thing, because it's
Hmm.
like when I see someone else doing something really interesting and coming up with something that no one's tried before, or just a new way of thinking of things, it like it always inspires me to like go back and try something different or get out of my comfort zone a little bit musically. And like I think
Yeah.
that's a really it's an important thing, but like it's really hard to replicate that unless it's sort of like in those moments,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and I think that's a real special thing, and I think scenes like this really need it, because otherwise we're just sort of stuck by ourselves practicing guitar all the time, and it's good for us to get out more.
Yeah. For sure. Well, that's all the questions I had for you. Did you have any questions for me? Or
No, no, all good. No, thanks. This was fun. I
this was
hope I
so
hope I
fun.
didn't talk too much, but
No,
it
it
was
was
pretty nice
perfect.
to be able to share. Yeah, share some history there. That was fun.
Yeah, that was
So,
super fun. Thank you so much for meeting with
oh
me.
yeah, no
And
worries.
yeah, hopefully I see you before NAM next next
I would
NAM.
love that. Yeah, I would love to head back up in your direction some point, but it's hard to get up there. I'll have to talk to Antoine about that thing in August. That sounds
Yes.
like fun. That would be cool to come up for. And the only so I recorded two of my records with Antoine, and I did them both in March,
Mhm.
which or no, I did one in February and one in March in Quebec, and it's like I was California kid, and Quebec in February are not compatible. So
Oh
I would
yeah.
love to go there in the summer when it's
Summer.
actually not awful. That was
Yeah.
we only did it because it was like the cheapest time to go. But oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that was
Pretty
that
bright.
was a level of cold I have never experienced.
Yeah. Not fun.
I was just like, what is this? Oh dear God. So summer sounds much better to me than going back in March. And I did it twice, which was insane, but whatever. It worked. It was
Like
so.
your body like forces you to forget about
Oh
the
my
drama.
gosh. I am like I am a total wuss when it comes to cold. I am like
Yeah.
I'm the worst. And so, it's growing up here, it's like, I'm like it's like it's kind of rainy today and it's like in the 60s and I'm like, "Oh, this is cold. I hate it." And everybody else is like, "Oh, that sounds so nice." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, we are very spoiled here." So, going to a place like that in February was kind
Yeah.
of a surreal experience.
Yeah. Let me tell you, even though I've lived in Canada my whole life, I never get used to the cold.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's a
Hate
lot.
it every.
Anyway, that's very funny. But yeah, so anyways,
I
yeah, I would love to come back up soon. So
Yeah, there's gonna be a website for Antoine's Festival launching soon with all the
oh
information.
nice.
So
Okay.
I'll send that over to you as soon as it's ready.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to check that out. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
Awesome.
Well, hopefully I see you soon. Thank you again so much. That was so much fun.
No worries. No worries. I appreciate the time. Thanks for chatting and yeah, hope we hang soon.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.